Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. For those that don't know me, I'm Mark McAllister from Holborn, and I will be talking you through the very latest update in the ever-changing Portuguese Golden Visa program, and what it means for clients, so you are right up to the minute with the latest developments and fully informed of what's going on, not just listening to the hype that is put in the media. So let me just start off today with a bit of an overview on what we're going to be going through. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our business and what it is that we do and how we help clients all over the world. Predominantly in my team, though, looking after our clients in the African continent, looking at the concept of residency by investment, which can often lead to citizenship and some of the other options that may be worth considering. The absolute latest on the Portugal Golden Visa program, so you know what's happening today and in the next few weeks, and what the process and the benefits are overall, and what the current real estate options are, but also what we might be seeing out the other side of the likely change from the Portuguese government. There will be an opportunity for questions and answers, so feel free to answer or ask those questions wherever you are on whatever platform you are on. So if you're listening on Facebook Live, just ask in the comments section and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. So let me tell you a little bit more about Holborn and where we fit into the world, particularly in our citizenship by investment and residency by investment programs. So Holborn has been around for over 20 years. We're a very well-established wealth management business. We've got a number of clients, nearly 20,000, over 20,000 clients across a number of global offices. And I'm based in the Cape Town office. We have a large team here looking after our clients all over Africa, but I'm not alone. We have offices in Johannesburg, in Durban, in the Winelands, now also in Mauritius and in Namibia. And we're not stopping there. No doubt be other offices added across Africa in the coming years. We look after our clients when it comes to wealth management on a number of key points, mainly around the structuring of assets to protect them, investing in primary currency with the very best asset managers around the world. So in the very least, that's something we help most of our clients with. Perhaps we might be able to have a discussion about that if that's an area that you're interested in. Let's focus today, though, on the citizenship and residency division and how we help clients in that regard become more globally mobile citizens, so allowing you to move freely across borders. And if you have a passport, a number of our clients do, for example, South African clients and Nigerian clients, really find it challenging moving across the sort of more westernized world, and particularly in Europe and USA. And sometimes that can be a real challenge when you're trying to do business. And that's one of the reasons why clients often talk to us about improving the quality of their passport overall through this process. So what is citizenship and residency by investment? Well, it comes about, it's been around as an industry for about a decade now, with some examples going back further than that. But just to give you an idea of how it's grown, in 2011, the industry was worth about $2.9 billion, and now about $30 billion. So it's been growing rapidly, and it allows clients to look at changing their residency or changing their citizenship by investing into a foreign country. And that's normally done through one of 5 routes. So that might be through real estate, that might be via a donation, it might be through setting up a business, it might be just putting funds into the country, or buying bonds, or loaning to a government or a municipality, as an example. There's 2 key components that you need to wrap your head around. So when I talk about residency by investment, this is where you exchange your investment for the right to stay in a country. You'll get the opportunity to live and work in that country, but you don't necessarily get a passport immediately, though a number of the residency schemes do lead to that in time. We'll sort of show you that in a second. The citizenship by investment route really is as simple as post-investment, you will receive a passport within a period of time, which again, I'll show you now. So here's our latest country index, so showing all the different options around the world that Holborn can assist you with. So what you can see on the right-hand side is the residency programs, first of all. So whereas that's Malta, Portugal, Greece, the USA, Spain, and Canada. The citizenship programs, though, are the places around the world where you can invest and receive a passport within a period of time. And there's a lot of the Caribbean islands that are represented there, the likes of St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Kitts, and Nevis and St. Kitts. So again, all of those options still open and will be open no matter what goes on in Portugal. But why does Portugal stand out for us as a business? Well, you can see here, looking at the right-hand side, the time to citizenship. It's the shortest time frame overall out of any of the European options there. So Portugal at 5 years, Greece at 8, Spain at 10 years. The investment option currently is very affordable. So you can see there, starting off from 280,000 euros upwards, and in comparison to some of the other options, slightly cheaper overall. But one of the key things, though, is the physical time for citizenship. So what does that mean? This is what I call the uprooting your life point. So if you want to go and secure your EU passport by becoming a resident of Spain, that's fine, but you have to be there 6 months of the year. So realistically, you're going to uproot your life, you're going to move to that country, and you're going to live there the majority of the year. Now, where Portugal is a fantastic option is that isn't as stringent a requirement. So currently it's 5 weeks over the 5-year period. So an average of 1 week a year or 2 weeks every 2 years. So going there for a holiday whilst in the Golden Visa period can still allow you to secure a passport. So this is the key point. Portugal is the last route that is as flexible as this when it comes to securing your passport and not having to be there, not having to uproot your life. And that's what we're going to focus on today in today's webinar. Okay, so moving on, how do we help? Well, there's a number of steps where Holborn will assist you on the journey. We offer a full service, and it's from the very beginning to the very end. We will support you through the entire process. Something that can be quite challenging and quite daunting, particularly when it's not an English-based system or whatever native language you're predominantly conversing. You know, Portuguese is a complex language, and so therefore we will guide you through the entire process. So what do? We can see some of the steps here, from preparing all of your residency permit applications, reviewing and submitting them, assisting you on viewing real estate opportunities, going and negotiating with property developers, sales agreements, public deeds on behalf of you, the client, getting those lodged at the various offices, the biometrics appointments. All those things are part of what we assist you with. And yet there's more. So we go on to help you open a Portuguese bank account. We make sure that we secure you a tax ID number. All of these things are required as part of the process. So it gives you an idea of everything that's involved, and that's part of the service that we offer to our clients. But why would you want an EU passport in the first place? And this is the key point. Why would I want to go and secure an EU passport with Portugal as my entry point to that? Well, firstly, it allows you to live in any of the 27 EU countries, and you can see them all here. You can also retire in any of those countries, so you don't have to just stay in Portugal. Before you retire, you can work in any of the 27 EU countries, you can study and open a business in any of those countries as well. And quite clearly, one of the key benefits is the opportunity to travel visa-free to 185 countries around the globe, which for those with a more restricted passport will be an absolute pleasure and a dream to be able to travel without having to worry about troublesome visas to get in and out of countries. So why Portugal? Well, Portugal has a number of key benefits, a number of very important points as to why it's worth considering as your entry point to the EU. It's the most welcoming country for expats. So that was rated by Internations. So very, very welcoming culture. The third most peaceful country globally. So for those that maybe are in a nation where they are worried about safety and security, this is one of the reasons why Portugal wins through for nations, not just African nations. We have a number of clients actually relocating from America, concerned about what's been happening over there. Best retirement destination in the 2020 Annual Global Retirement Index. So really key point there is a beautiful country to retire to. And one of the key points there is the 10 years non-habitual tax regime exemption. So it's a very tax efficient country to look to plan around a movement to in time. But this is something where, speaking to a financial planner like myself, it's not just about getting your residency secured, it's about structuring your assets in a way where we can reduce your taxation burden completely legally and in a way that allows you to secure that retirement in a country like Portugal and the EU in the longer term. 12th best public healthcare system globally. For those that maybe pay for private healthcare, I know this is a point that South Africans are often keen to secure and explore. When you pay so much for private medical care in countries that don't have good quality government healthcare systems, this is quite a refreshing point to consider. And the 16th best education system globally. So for those looking to raise children and maybe grandchildren and get access to public education system, really a fantastic country for that as well. So a little bit more about the Golden Visa program in Portugal. So it started in 2012. Since then, over 10,000 Golden Visas have been approved for 27,000 people. So an average of 2.7 per applicant. So going for over a decade. And the first citizenships have been granted since 2018. So the first applicants in 2012 secured their passports and became EU citizens in 2018. So we've got a long period now of proven track record with clients not having to actually physically live in Portugal all the time. It's raised over 6 billion euros in foreign direct investment, and it's open to any non-EU citizen. So this now applies to Brits like myself. So a number of our clients are looking to secure an EU passport because they're British citizens and like the idea of retiring in the sun. It's very important, though, you can't apply if you have a criminal record. So discuss that with us and we'll give you all of the ins and outs on what the requirements are there. And it can include your spouse, your children and parents as well. So if you have elderly parents and you're looking to relocate as a larger family, this still could be a route for you to consider. A little bit about the geography now. So the main areas that people are interested in is Lisbon, Porto and the Algarve. So Lisbon, first of all, is the capital city of Portugal and the largest metropolitan city. It's an international commercial hub, and over 30 million passengers a year travel through Lisbon's airport, and it's been awarded Europe's best city break from the World Travel Award. So a lovely, lovely capital city to visit, at the very least. The other city that you might have heard of is Porto. Porto is the second largest metropolitan city and the most prosperous city. Its key industries are tourism and hospitality, and 13 million passengers a year travel through Porto Airport. So for those that aren't familiar with how the airport systems work in Europe, hopping around Europe on short-haul flights is very much the norm, and there's a lot of low-cost carriers traveling across a number of European destinations and further beyond as well. And then the Algarve in the south of the country is very much a beach and touristic destination, very much focused on tourists and high-end service, with 9 million passengers a year through the local airport, which is Faroes Airport. It's the best beach destination in Europe. That was again awarded by the World Travel Awards, and the best retirement destination as well. So one of the things for those looking to live in perpetual summer, the Algarve is a good option for those from the southern hemisphere, so that you can literally live in the northern hemisphere for that summer, and then perhaps pop back down to South Africa or other African countries during the winter. But obviously the choice is yours. Okay, so this just gives you a bit of an overview on a typical time frame, and one of the reasons why we've been urging clients to speak to us before the sort of deadlines that we'll talk about in a minute. It can take time to put all of the solutions together. We've pruned it right down to the bare minimum, and now some of the things that did take months we can get done in weeks, but also there is a reliance on the Portuguese government in their components around things like the CEF appointment for biometrics and actually issuing the card. So what does that really look like in a sort of slightly easier format? This is the typical journey for those that want to secure a Portuguese Golden Visa. we sit down and have the discussion. Within the 3 months, we will get your golden visa application, submit it, and within the first year, we'd like to think that will be approved. It's very, very rare that we ever see a rejection. I think about how many we've done now from our team, and I can't think of a rejection that we've seen when all the facts have been provided by the client. So once you've got your golden visa approved, you go to Portugal for your biometrics appointment. You'll receive a physical plastic card, and that lasts for 2 years. At the 2-year point, it's then renewed, and then again at the 4-year point. So it's renewed twice during this journey. That then takes you to the 5-year anniversary. And once you've held that golden visa and met all the requirements, and we'll talk about those in a second, then you can apply for either permanent residence or citizenship. Permanent residence would obviously be the right to stay there, but without changing your passport or becoming a Portuguese citizen. The second option, which is what most clients go for, is securing the Portuguese passport, which leads to EU citizenship. And that happens around year 5. And then you normally receive confirmation of the permanent residency or receive your passport about year 6 from the start of the process. So that gives you a very succinct timeline as to what's involved in the process overall. Okay, so how do we lead you up to getting the Portugal EU passport? Well, when we get to that 5-year point, you can request it, as I've just said. What's required, firstly, is a minimum of 5 weeks physical stay. So I normally say to clients, 1 week a year and you're there. You can do 2 weeks every 2 years, but why not have a holiday every year in Portugal to get used to the country and starting to build some roots there. One key thing, though, is that you also need to be able to pass an A2 language test. So something you've got to stretch yourself over the 5 years, learning a little bit of the language, very important to do so, to integrate it into Portuguese culture. It's rated as the 4th best passport in the world, so that's why a lot of people want it. And it allows you, as we said earlier, to travel to 187 countries, visa-free, live and work anywhere in the UK, in the EU. Okay, so let's narrow it on the investment option. So this is where we are currently as of this morning. The changes are imminent. I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute. So real estate currently on the table, and normally over the 5-year period, that would either be through a new build and a minimum of 500,000 euros, or some form of refurbishment of an older property, 30 years old plus. And that brings the entry point down to 350,000 euros. We'll talk about the 2 zones in a minute, and I'll show you a map that explains that a little bit easier and go through that in some more depth. The other options and likely to remain after the changes that have been proposed are donations to the arts and venture capital, private equity funds. Unfortunately, the bank account route is going as well, probably, and creating a company. But as of today, these are the options and the routes that are available for you to consider. Okay, so one of the things that did change the last time there was a bit of a rumbling around the Golden Visa route into Portugal was on the 1st of January 2022. And what they did is effectively create these zones, and what they are is low density and high density. So the high density options are highlighted in orange, and therefore those options are only achievable if you go down the commercial property route. The darker grey areas, low density, the residential route was still currently is open. So if you go for a new build in Lisbon or Porto, 500,000 euros is the entry point. If you go for a new build in the Algarve, it's 400,000. If we look at refurbishment options, so Lisbon and Porto, we can do that at the 350,000 euro entry point, and then in the Algarve, 280,000 euros. But like I say, those options have to be commercial, and that's where we've been very, very active on developing the relationships with commercial property developers to make that requirement for our clients. Okay, so what's the very latest as of today? Well, the Portuguese Parliament are actually going to vote, and it's possibly today. And I say today, it might be the 6th of July. Governments have a tendency to change these, and the Portuguese government have changed this numerous times. So were not to happen today, I wouldn't be surprised. It was originally planned to be on the 19th of July. And if you look back at the media storm that happened in February, it was all done and dusted, and we wouldn't be able to to help any clients at all from February. That wasn't the case at all. That's why we were advising clients, cut through the hype, talk to the experts, and we'll be able to explain what we think is happening. But as it stands at the moment, what's the proposals? Well, what we're likely to see is the removal of the bank account, residential and commercial property options after this vote, if, and that's the important thing, if it succeeds. Why has it changed so much from the very bullish rhetoric of the government back in February, where the whole thing was going to be shut down? There was going to be no golden visa routes whatsoever. Well, suddenly common sense has started to prevail. They've realized that actually this hasn't really led to inflation of property prices. That was the narrative, that the reason why this was being shut down is that ordinary Portuguese citizens couldn't afford to buy, properties because of quite much all of these golden visas properties that were being purchased. Well, when you look at it and cut through down to the facts, well, actually, since the January 2022, it's really just been a commercial property route in most of the high density areas. So actually, by stopping the scheme, Portugal are going to potentially impact their economy negatively. There's going to be less jobs available for those that work in the commercial property refurbishment sector and commercial property building sectors, as an example. So there was a lot of pushback from those within those industries wanting to make sure that the routes were maintained. So that's why it's gone from very much the whole thing's being closed to actually we're going to keep some options open because we've realized, that this really isn't the reason why we're seeing inflation in property prices. We're seeing inflation in property prices around the whole world, and those that are from the UK, like myself, have seen a number of those points in particular. But anyway, let's just focus on what's happening. So let's say the vote goes through today, then we could see these changes as a result. So what options will be available? Well, at the moment in its current format, there will still be the route to look at a venture capital or investment fund. And here we are as experts in investments around the world, structuring those investments. So, if you are still interested in looking at this, we will be adapting our offering to fit around venture capital and investment funds. So please reach out to us and talk to us if that's something that you're interested in. You can still look to create at least 10 jobs with or without a company, or a business investment that creates or maintains at least 5 jobs. Potentially scientific research contribution might be available, or a cultural, heritage or artistic contribution of 250,000 euros. Okay. So what's the summary from today's presentation? Look, the Portuguese Golden Visa route is likely to remain in some form after July 2023. It's not going to end completely. Okay, there may also be a grace period to finalize last-minute applications. We've seen time and time again that the Portuguese government say one thing but then do another, and often this takes much longer than they would like to get things in order. So it's possible there will be further changes or concessions that could see the scheme carry on in an adapted format, and we may still be able to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out to us now that you have the full facts, and we can talk to you what the options are and what you can be considering. So don't listen to the mass media hype. I helped one client in Nigeria recently, and they literally were about to do it in January or February and stopped because their perception was that the whole scheme had come to a halt. And actually now they've secured their golden visa already in the time since February up until July. So one message from us, though, this really is your last call for action. Okay. So please reach out to us. If you're considering those commercial property routes, this really is the last opportunity to talk about those, and we'll be able to let you know if those are options that are available after this vote takes place, or whether the situation has changed measurably between now and the end of the year. But either way, we're here to support you and find those routes. And even if it isn't the European route that you want to consider, maybe you're looking at the Caribbean islands, maybe you're looking at America. There's a lot of other routes. So I recommend having a discussion with myself and my team, and we can just talk you through how we can fit your residency requirements into your overall wealth planning journey as part of a long-term approach to investment management. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the question and answer. So if you haven't already done so, please ask a question at the bottom. You can do so by clicking on the Q&A button if you're on Zoom. If you're on Facebook Live and watching this there, then please ask a question in the comments, and then my team will pass that question on to me to answer here today. I've just launched a poll as well, so if you're able to answer those questions, just gives us a bit of a feeling of the guests that are watching today and what they're thinking about in relation to their citizenship journey and what it is that that they're considering going forward. Okay, so we're going to move on to questions now. So thank you very much. We've got a first question here from Edueo in Nigeria. So the question here is, is it still possible then for me as a Nigerian citizen to meet the requirements for the commercial property route? So I think I've covered that in the presentation. At the moment, possibly, but we are really running out of time. It will depend on what's happening with the vote later on today, or on the 6th if it gets delayed, or the 19th if it's delayed to that day. We'll be able to advise you further from there. One of the things that we will do, though, is talk you through the whole process in detail, and in particular, what it means to you. So having done this a number of times with Nigerian clients, one of the biggest delays that we have actually in South Africa as well is around police clearances, and we'll help support you through that so that we can get your local police clearance certificate as quickly as possible, and we'll be running all of the other concurrent activities in the background so that you are not delayed and that the time frame is in the shortest possible. Okay, we have another question that's just come through. Do you help to identify properties available for purchase? Absolutely. Yep. So one of the key things that we focus on is presenting a number of options that meet the requirement, that are qualifying Golden Visa properties. It's one of the things that, if you look at the options, I've always urged clients to be a little bit careful of, for example, what might seem like a great residential property. How much is it really worth? Do you know if it's a good investment, or are you going to be stuck with a property in a very low density location in the middle of nowhere, and actually then you carry all of the risk of the resale? One of the things about the commercial property routes that was fantastic, and still is currently fantastic, is that when you purchase into those solutions, they will often pay you an upfront rent. They will also then potentially offer a buyback guarantee, at the level that you invested. So then that once you secured your passport, you also get your money back as well, and then you can go and purchase a property to live in. And that might not necessarily be in Portugal, because at that point, if you've got your passport, you can go and relocate anywhere within the European Union. So you might want to go and live in Germany, you might want to live in Italy or wherever, and that allows you to do so quite freely as a European citizen. So those options, we'll be looking to create alternatives that are similar to them, but hopefully that answers your question there. Okay, just moving on to the next question. So thank you very much to Steve. So this is, we've seen quite a lot of inquiries like this. So Steve is from the UK. So yes, Steve, what you're able to do as a UK citizen, if you can find your way back to the European Union, if you're maybe not a fan of Brexit, don't want to get into the politics of that choice on this call, but yeah, we've got a lot of British citizens looking to relocate to Europe. Maybe you've stayed in Spain before and now not able to without securing the rights to stay there. So by doing this route, actually, it allows you to go and spend time in Portugal and other countries as well. And then once you've secured your passport, then yes, absolutely, you can stay in Portugal and retire there if that's what you want to do. So yes, Steve, hopefully that answers your question. But please do reach out to us, and my team and I can arrange a courtesy video call and just talk you through all of the options for you and your specific circumstances. Okay. Got a question here for Kinsinga. Thank you very much for your question. So yeah, the question here is about non-Portugal options. So yes, I touched on these before. Yeah, why do so many clients in Nigeria in particular focus or look at the St. Lucian passport? It's one of the cheapest routes actually in the Caribbean, and allows you to move very, very freely around the UK and into Europe, etc. So that's why a number of clients look to secure passport in the Caribbean, and St. Lucia is my front runner for clients in your jurisdiction. Very, very easy to sort out. It literally is a financial cost. So you buy the passport effectively through an investment, and a few months later you will receive your Caribbean passport, depending on which jurisdiction we go for. And then once you receive that, you're then a citizen of that country. So St. Lucia is the most common one that I encourage clients to consider in your case, from what I think you're saying. And then, yes, you're able to freely move around and enjoy the benefits of a St. Lucian citizenship, but you don't have to go there. You don't ever have to visit. We can do it all remotely for you. So something to consider there. So the message from me in summary, I think that's the last of the questions. Is, oh, hang on, we've got one more, so I will try and answer that one in a second. Yeah, so the message really is reach out to us. You know, we'll provide you a complimentary discussion around citizenship by residency and citizenship by investment options. And so I'm just going to try and put my contact details up on the screen here. So feel free to drop us an email or a WhatsApp, and we can have a chat with my team. I'm based in South Africa, but I travel all over the world having these kinds of discussions, often in the European Union, quite often in Portugal, out in the Middle East, often all the way through Africa as well, if you want to have a physical discussion. But I think post-COVID these days, we're so used to being on a video call, why not just have a quick chat and we can talk you through the options for this, and also maybe potentially look at the investment piece as well as part of some of the other services that we provide. Okay, let me just answer this final question here from Luke. So Luke, thank you for your question. Could you purchase an established business, or must it be a new business? Also, what are the additional costs above the investment amount? Yeah, really challenging to answer that one, Luke. Unfortunately, that's more of a bespoke question. So probably best to have a chat offline about that. My nervousness around the business investment route is, it does create a lot of unknown risk, particularly if you're looking to do this and not be there all the time. So the last thing that we want is you to be exposed to unnecessary risk, and that's one of the reasons why the property route was, and still is at the moment anyway, at least today, the most explored and utilised route, because it's so safe, so secure. And like I say, with the active buybacks and what have you, really help to help clients secure this route. So probably best we have a discussion on a case-by-case basis if that's something you're actively considering. Yeah, maybe best discussed face-to-face, but something that is a higher risk solution, definitely without a doubt. Okay, I think that's about it. So let's just run through on the poll. So yeah, we've got a number of clients on the call that are actually considering these kind of routes. The main reason that people are looking to secure an EU passport, and the main one is better quality of life, access to better education, and business opportunities. Yeah, that's the consistent theme that we often hear from our clients all over Africa in particular, and further afield sometimes. Yeah, being able to move freely into the European Union and take advantage of those kind of opportunities, something that I'd encourage you to really think about for you and your family. I had a conversation not that long ago with a very wealthy individual in Nigeria. The gentleman in question had a Ferrari, and I said, look, a lovely Italian car, but would it not be better to sell that and instead have the right for you and your family and your children and your children's children to go and live in Italy if they wanted to, and maybe buy their Ferrari over there in the future? But maybe a very niche example, but what I'm basically driving at is that this is an investment for you and your family and your family's generational future. So if it's something as a high net worth individual that you're considering, absolutely, look to do so as well, for those reasons. Okay. Number of clients that have assets invested offshore, then that is the majority of what I do day to day. So I actually help expats and other high net worth individuals across Africa to invest wisely, normally outside of the countries in question. So dollars, pounds, euros, Swiss francs, and getting those protected outside of the country of origin. I can often use the analogy of like a global suitcase for your money, and then that way reducing geopolitical risk. And one of the things that's quite often utilized is a pairing of this solution with a wealth management solution, so that if you do retire to Portugal, then you can really take some tax efficient income in retirement through some of the other solutions that we offer as well. But that's, again, quite a niche solution, so probably again worth talking about on a case-by-case, face-to-face basis. And a number of clients looking to secure this immediately, others in the next sort of 6 months or so. So look, the EU route may still be open in Portugal in a slightly different format. So again, reach out to us and we can talk it through once we know exactly what the facts are and what's still available at that point. But the general message from me is try and have that conversation sooner rather than later. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time. I hope it's been worthwhile and useful for you today. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I look forward to speaking to you in due course. All the best. Take care.